Hey, what's up, YouTube? All right. Got Instagram going too. All right. What's up, guys? I'm Johnathan White. I'm here, as always, to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. So, a lot going on. This year in general has been very transformative. Things are really amping up energetically in the world. A lot of change is happening, and it's a very difficult, very chaotic time for a lot of people. As things transform in this accelerated rate, all these old shadows, these deep, sort of collective shadow patterns are being emerged into the light to be dealt with in some way or another, right? We've had this fear of death earlier this year, massive worldwide fear of death with the whole, COVID situation, and more recently, these old collective patterns of hatred, of prejudice, things like that have emerged back into the sort of the collective mind to be addressed and dealt with, right? So a lot happening in the world, and it's so important to be doing the work to keep yourself balanced and to keep yourself clear at this time if you want to make your optimal transformation, because a lot of people are having a hard time this year. They're having a very difficult time. They're stressed out. They're full of anxiety, full of fear and doubts about the future. But really, in my opinion, this is a very exciting time. Things are transforming rapidly, and anything is possible for the future, right? So really what the essence of sexual kung fu and sexual cultivation is all about is transforming yourself. It's about changing these patterns. We're all born with these certain patterns in our lives. We're all handed down certain beliefs, fears, limitations, hatreds from our ancestors. And people keep playing these things out like they belong to them. Like, oh, this is my fear, this is my hatred. But these are all programs that people are running. And so really the foundation of sexual kung fu practice is to clear these things out, to clear the past, to clear out all these old negative emotions, whether they're from you, whether they're handed down to you from your parents, from your ancestors, these limiting beliefs. This is the most foundational part of the work, is to clear out these old patterns. And this is, the most powerful work of all. If everyone in the world was doing this work, then we wouldn't have any issues. We wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't have conflict. We wouldn't have chaos. But the problem is that people keep acting out this old programming that's been handed to them from their parents. Again, these old fears, these old hatreds, things like that. And, just keep living out the past, basically. So it's about clearing these things. We all have the choice to end these patterns right now, but it's going to start within us. It's not going to come from a law. It's not going to come from a politician. It's not going to come from this external force telling people what to do. It's going to come from you doing your self-work, right? Each of us doing our own self-work to say, okay, there's these patterns in myself. There's these fears, these limitations, these prejudice, hatred, whatever. I can make a choice to stop this pattern from happening. I can make a choice to do the work within myself, acknowledge that I have these shadow aspects and resolve them, bring them to completion, because we all have these incompletions that were sort of handed down to us from our parents and our ancestors, like things they weren't really able to figure out in their lives. These limitations they had get handed down to us, and it's up to us to complete these things in some way, whether that's just completely releasing the pattern, which is often the easiest way. So, and then from here, again, you have a solid foundation to start cultivating your sexual energy. Sexual energy is the energy of growth. It's the energy of rebirthing, of creating things, right? And you cannot, if you don't clear the past, if you don't clear all the bullshit first, you're just going to keep creating the same thing over and over. This is the inherent danger of working with sexual energy, is that whatever you're focused on, whatever you're channeling your sexual energy into, is going to amplify, it's going to grow. So if you have all of these dark, unconscious patterns and you're cultivating your sexual energy, that's where you're going to amplify. So that's the most important work, is clearing out all this bullshit. And we're kind of seeing that happen on a collective level, because all these old things that we, haven't really dealt with, kind of keeping them in the closet, they're all emerging, right? So much is emerging this year. And it's a time for heightened growth. It's an opportunity to, again, see these things for what they are and say, hey, we don't have to play out these, this stupid shit anymore. It's time to change the paradigm, to make a new society, one not based on control and debt and, enslaving people, basically. We can create a new paradigm of abundance and high vibes, high energy. It's really down to each of us to do this work. So again, if everyone in the world was tapping into their sexual energy in a fulfilling level, because this is one of the main issues here, all these different things happening, fears, hatred, racism, all these things, they're really just symptoms of much more deeply rooted issues here, right? And there's a lot of traumas around our sexuality and our sexual experience because we feel disconnected from that. And there's a lot of shame and guilt around that. And by addressing this directly, a lot of these other things start to clear up, because when you have a harmonious and fulfilling connection with your sexuality, with your sexual energy, again, for most people, for men especially, sex is an experience of depletion. It's like, they thrust frantically in their partners and then release their energy through an ejaculation. They become addicted to that. But the problem with that is that they're releasing their energy and they always want more. It's this addiction cycle. When you change this pattern, when you change your relationship to how you experience sex, how you experience orgasm, when you learn to have full body orgasms, non-ejaculatory orgasms, you build yourself up with this energy. You're filled with the life force. This is another main issue that so many people have, is that they're disconnected from the life force. We live in these, kind of false lives. We protect ourselves from nature, living in the city, bombarded with all this toxicity, EMF radiation, toxic food, toxic water, scrolling through social media. When that's your life, you're not connected to the life force. And so you feel incomplete and empty within yourself. So this is what causes you to reach out for drugs, reach out for porn and toxic relationships and things like this. So when you are connected to the life force through an internal practice, Qigong, meditation, whatever, then you stay tuned in. And through sexual cultivation as well, because this gives you a direct connection to this nourishing, harmonizing, energizing life force. Then you naturally have no desire to take drugs, to look at porn. You no longer take your frustrations and anger out on other people because you feel good inside. This is what is going to change the world, is people starting to do this self-work. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work. I just took a group through my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, and amazing transformations. We had a call a few days ago. All the guys were sharing their transformations, because this is much deeper than just working with sex. It's about much more than sex. This is everything in your being is related to this work, right? And this is very holistic work. This approach of sexual kung fu. Men are talking about how their confidence is improving, how they find their relationship to women's changing. It's no longer coming from this place of, I need someone, I need to get laid. Instead of that, it's coming from this place of, I'm overflowing with this energy and I feel great and confident and vibrant. And now I want to share that with someone else. These are the transformations that people are making with this work. So that's why I love sharing this work. It's changed my life, absolutely. And I'm seeing it change other men's lives as well. It's the most powerful work that I believe a human can do. So, all about sexual kung fu. If you guys want to get started, if you're I'm always talking about this stuff and you're okay, this is, I understand, but how do I actually do this? Some great resources are, my YouTube channel. I have a lot of playlists. I have a Qigong playlist, some great exercises, start cultivating energy. Check that out. My YouTube channel is Sexual Kung Fu. I have a breathwork playlist, some really awesome breathwork exercises. So those will give you some hands-on practices to start doing this work, because in the end, we can talk about this stuff all day, but if you don't have a practice to feel it in your body, to make it happen, then it's just talk. It's never going to happen. So, talk does not cook the rice, as my teacher, Michael Wynn, would say. So, all right, I'm going to answer some questions now. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone is thriving in these crazy times of heightened energy. Schumann resonance of the earth has been going nuts. The Schumann resonance, it's basically the heartbeat of the earth. It's like the frequency that the earth is vibrating at, and it's measured. It's kind of like it's a field of energy, and it actually connects to our brain waves, our brain states. So what's been happening is the Schumann resonance has been just going off the scale, basically. This causes changes in our psyche. It causes changes in our bodies. So staying grounded at this time, because I think this is only going to keep, it's only going to increase. The change and the transformation in this world, it's only going to keep increase. Things are never going back to what we consider normal. Things are only going to keep changing. So the best thing you can do is to stay grounded, stay connected to the earth. And as the earth transforms, you will transform with it. So spend time in nature, feel your feet on the earth, do some grounding practice, and you're going to be just fine. It's an exciting ride ahead for sure. All right, so questions. How can your methods help with porn-induced erectile dysfunction? Well, first of all, you address the porn addiction itself, stop watching porn, and then you start to rebuild this core vitality in your body, bring your brain chemistry and your body chemistry back into balance, bring your hormones back into balance, and change your connection to sexuality. So it's very helpful for that, for sure. Okay, have I tried deep tissue massage for clearing negative patterns, and does it work? Good question. This is a really great modality of healing, basically, is body work, right? Because we hold patterns in our body. When we have a trauma, we tend to we hold it in our body as a memory. Memories exist within our entire energy field. They're not really stored in the brain. They're stored in our entire being. So body work, kind of the theory is that, okay, so you have this tension pattern, right? Like maybe I have, some anger or something, or, common one is like heartbreak. You've been hurt emotionally. So you kind of close yourself down. You start to kind of round down, protect your heart. Your shoulders become hunched forward. I used to be like this when I was in my early 20s. I was really skinny and like hunched forward like this. And all this tissue becomes tight, it becomes locked in. The fascia tissue of the body, it's like this thin webbing that connects all the, it connects all the muscles, the organs. It covers the entire body. It's sort of like the it's sort of the network of chi. Chi moves through this fascial network. And again, when it becomes tense, as you have these emotional blockages, it often manifests as like this kind of like knot of energy. It all gets pulled into this sharp point. Or not sharp, but it's just this congested point. So a body worker who knows how to work with this tissue goes in and like clears these blockages. And sometimes you'll feel emotions resurfacing, old things, and then they can be released, because this is the tendency of when we have an intense experience, an intense traumatic experience that we're not able to fully process. We often kind of store it in the body, like, okay, I'll deal with that later when I'm ready. And a lot of people, the closet's getting really full. So this is, I think it's a great form of work, for sure. How to deal with blue balls? Blue balls is caused by basically too much energy in the genitals. It's getting stuck. It's stagnant in the genitals. This is pretty common, if you're doing semen retention, but basically it means that you're not circulating the sexual energy out of your genitals. So working with the microcosmic orbit, doing pelvic floor exercises, Kegels and reverse Kegels, massage your testicles every day. This is very important. But specifically the practice testicle breathing, where you're breathing that energy out of the genitals and into the rest of the body, is the cure for blue balls. I never get blue balls anymore because I know how to circulate that sexual energy out of the genitals. I have some videos of this on my YouTube channel as well. Will I do any live retreats so that we can learn in person? Yes, I definitely want to do some live retreats. In fact, I was working on putting some together, and then the whole, pandemic thing happened and everything's closed down. So things are starting to open back up here in the US. So I definitely want to do some in-person work in the near future. How can we improve semen quality and its DNA? Eat healthy. Don't eat garbage. Don't eat toxicity. Avoid sugar. Avoid gluten, wheat products, soy. These things. Avoid EMF as much as you can. The radiation from Wi-Fi, things like that, which is not easy to do. So you can get Wi-Fi blocking devices. Organite, black tourmaline, certain stones block these, these deadly EMF frequencies. Live a happy, peaceful life. Reduce stress, and that's going to, it's going to improve your health, your DNA. Therefore, you're going to be able to create healthy semen. And don't ejaculate frequently. What should we do in the face of chaos even worse than what we see now? Well, see, that's part of the thing, is projecting in the future, like, oh, things can only get worse. When you're kind of projecting these fears into the future, you're disconnected from the present, and what you focus on tends to grow in your life. So first of all, don't worry about the future. Bring your focus into the present moment. Focus on peace. Focus on what you want in your life. Do grounding practices. Stay grounded. Get excited. What do you want to bring into your life? Focus on that and act towards that. If you're living in if you have these expectations of fear and chaos of the future, what do you think you're going to bring into your life? Focus is everything. What you focus on, you literally magnetize into your life. So be careful with your mind, in these times. How can we ground besides putting feet on earth, nature? Qigong is my favorite practice for grounding. I teach a standing meditation practice. I think I have a video on my YouTube channel, but basically you hold these postures, you stand, and you root your energy into the earth. You don't have to physically have your feet on the earth to get grounded. You can breathe from the earth, center of the earth, up into your belly center, exhale down to the center of the earth. That's a simple grounding practice. Laying on the ground, just feel gravity, surrender to the flow of gravity, follow that pull of gravity back to the source, the earth, and it will ground you. Having fun, being playful, do something fun. Playing sports or something like that, it's very grounding. You're in the moment, you're in your body, and you're out of your mind. So whatever sort of physical things you enjoy doing can be very grounding. Okay, look at some YouTube questions here. Okay, which is better for drawing sexual energy up, the power lock or testicle breathing? Well, the power lock is basically testicle breathing with some added force. So what is better just depends on what works best for you. In the beginning, I use the power lock a lot because, before you really get the channels open, really develop that mind power to move sexual energy, you need a bit more physical engagement to kind of force the energy up. But as your skill develops, all you need to do is use your awareness and move that energy. And it's, so it's just a matter of your skill level and, training with it. How do I have orgasms without risking ejaculation? Is it okay if I don't orgasm, just stay at a low level? Yeah, I mean, first of all, the definition of orgasm really needs to be redefined for men. What I encourage you to do is when you're feeling pleasure, it doesn't matter how small it is. When you feel like this wave of pleasure, start calling that an orgasm. That alone starts to kind of liberate your approach because, so many men get focused on this idea of oh, it has to be this full body, crazy, full blown cosmic orgasm or else it's not an orgasm. And then once you kind of liberate yourself from stopping yourself from trying to achieve, stop forcing yourself to try to achieve this huge orgasm, then that opens yourself up more because it's going to start out a lot more subtle. But the more that you work with it, the more you open yourself up, the more powerful these orgasms become. So, but you as far as risking ejaculation, just stay beneath 80% of the way towards the point of no return, and you physically won't be able to ejaculate. Do I do a one-on-one course? I do offer one-on-one training, but a prerequisite is to have gone through my Multi-Orgasmic Man 6-week course, first of all. Okay. Can you reach a full body orgasm having sex the usual way? What I'm trying to say is that have sex like an animal quick, or can you just reach this type of orgasm through soft sex? Okay, so basically the question is, can you get the full body orgasm through quick, traditional, really friction oriented, frantic, lustful sex versus really soft, slow sex? Yes, you can, but again, it depends on your openness, your sensitivity, your ability to, connect with that subtle energy. It's really a matter of just getting the energy into your full body and how fast you're going. In the beginning, it's easier for most guys to go really slow because there's less distraction of trying to keep their arousal under control. But in the end, it doesn't really matter what speed you're going at when you have the skill. Okay. I've been trying to do semen retention for almost 6 months now, but I can't last more than 1 week without a release. Should I develop a daily pattern? Can you suggest 2 to 3 exercises so basically some exercises to start, channeling the sexual energy. Check out my Qigong routine on YouTube, my Qigong playlist. There's one called Energizing Morning Qigong Routine. Start working with that. Also the Microcosmic Orbit Meditation, which is also my YouTube. And that will be plenty for you to start with. Okay, Damo Mitchell. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of Damo Mitchell. I've studied a lot of his system actually, and I know he's not big into the sexual stuff. He basically says it turns people into pedophiles and sexual maniacs, and he kind of I love Damo Mitchell, but at the same time he's very rigid in a lot of the things. He's kind of one of those know-it-all types of people. So I respect him. He's a very, very knowledgeable guy, but at the same time, I don't think everything he says is true. So, again, you have to explore the stuff yourself. You can't just be like, oh, this guy said this, so therefore it must be true. You have to explore the stuff for yourself. I used to have this approach. I'm like, oh, well, I read this book. It said this. That means this other book's wrong because I read this book first. I had to explore these things for myself, feel it in my body. I've been doing sexual cultivation practice for years, and I've only had incredible results. So you really have to be your own teacher, because you're always going to find contradicting information. So it's like, what works for you, you know? Is porn without orgasm okay? Um, it's still going to cause you the same issues of, dopamine release. It's overstimulating. It's going to pull your energy out of your body. I do not recommend looking at porn personally. Okay, can you recommend some products like shampoo, soap, lotions that you use, which are not laced with chemicals? I get a lot of my sort of soaps, shampoos, things like this from a company called Arbonne, because they use all natural ingredients. But just in general, just look at the ingredients. Like, a lot of stores you can find all natural things, but you have to like get to know ingredients basically. Like, look at the ingredient, look it up, be like, okay, is this a toxic chemical? Generally, if there's a list of 20 things you can't pronounce, you've never heard of, then it's probably toxic products. Yeah, Dr. Bronner soap's great. I use that as well. Do I recommend grounding and earthing as much as possible? Yeah, from my experience, being on the earth doesn't pull energy out of my body. I feel very calm and energized after doing qigong practice on the earth. So I think it's, especially in this world where so many of us live completely separated from nature, getting on the earth is extremely, extremely valuable, extremely important. If porn is overstimulating, regular sex without ejaculation is bad too. No, not at all. Porn is a false stimulation. It's false yang or false yin, right? It stimulates your sexual energy, but you're sending your energy out to a black hole. You're connecting with this astral space of this, person on your screen. It's just a really, really weird energetic dynamic. It's nothing at all like being in person having sex. Having sex in real life is very, very healing. It's very nurturing. Porn is not. So be careful with this. What works best for helping visualize drawing energy up the spine? I don't recommend you visualize it. I recommend you feel it in your body. If you make this all a visualization, you're just doing it from your head and the body gets disconnected and you will not get very good results. This is something I discovered. Learn to connect with your kinesthetic sense, moving energy. You can like take like a brush or something, like run it up your spine. Do that several times so you really get that feeling ingrained in your body, and then try to reproduce that feeling with your mind alone. This engages your energy body. Your kinesthetic sense engages that. If you're just visualizing it, you're not going to get the same results. Do the orgasmic draw. You're doing the orgasmic full body draw daily about three days before ovulation. Had these chills all over my body minutes later. Is this normal? Yeah, when you're pulling up the sexual energy, I get this a lot. This kind of like this, shivers and sensations, tingles around the body from that sexual energy moving around. So yeah, it's pretty normal. What is a good beginning practice to be aware of energy in the body? I think Qigong is an excellent practice. Again, I have some great beginner Qigong videos on my YouTube channel. It starts to get you in tune because it's a very body-centered practice. So meditation is great as well, but Qigong, it really tends to pull you into your body and develop your awareness of the energy channels, which is why I incorporate it into all of my trainings. Do all my friends practice semen retention? No, all of my friends do not practice semen retention, and that's fine. Everyone has their own path to take, and I relate to all kinds of people. Is it normal to have reduced appetite while going over a month streak? I personally don't experience this, but there's a lot of factors to your appetite. But at the same time, you have more energy, so maybe you don't need as much of that caloric intake. How tall am I? I am 6'1". I'm not sure what that is in the metric system. Okay, porn is overstimulating. How about fapping without porn, without orgasms? I think there's nothing wrong with this. It depends. It depends on your approach with it. This can just lead to like blue balls and sexual frustration if you're not able to move that energy out of your genitals. If you can, if you're practicing sexual kung fu, you're self-stimulating. First of all, you're giving yourself a full body massage. The sexual reflexology of the penis connects to the rest of the body, so it's very beneficial to stimulate this energy. It's really a use it or lose it situation. If you don't use your penis, it's going to atrophy. Your hormones are not going to be ideal. So it's a great tool for men to connect with their own pleasure. So yeah. When will I try urine therapy? Well, I haven't really gotten around to drinking my own pee yet. We'll see though. Urban Hydration Health and Repair Shampoo. Is this the one? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But again, look at the ingredients. Look them up. All right, guys, just answering questions. Let's see. Okay, the 3-finger lock on the $1 million point, is it dangerous and does it help with controlling ejaculation? So I've had, I've had experience with this method for a long time. It's the first thing I used, right? I read Montauk Chee's book, was like, oh, just stick fingers in this point and you're good. First of all, it took me a long time to learn how to actually do it right, because more often than not, if you miss the spot just a little bit. So this is the technique where you basically press 3 fingers into your perineum, the pelvic floor, to physically block the mechanism of ejaculation as you ejaculate. So if you miss this point just a little bit, you have a retrograde ejaculation, which means the semen goes into your bladder, then you urinate it out. So you might as well have just ejaculated. Also, you have to completely stop motion stimulation as you're doing it, or else you will have that retrograde ejaculation. But when you do it right, then you have a full-on genital orgasm. No fluid comes out. You still lose energy. You'll lose your erection. Probably won't be able to keep having sex, at least not for a few minutes to recover. But you lose significantly less energy using this technique. So for me, it was kind of a training wheel, right? It was like a kind of a crutch to start learning these practices. And I would also use it for a while. Just if I did accidentally go over the edge, then I would use that to kind of save some energy. So I don't think it's dangerous, but it's very important to massage yourself afterwards. That's the danger. If you don't massage yourself, then you can have some issues of stagnant fluids and things like that. But if you give yourself an in-depth massage of your perineum area, your whole groin area after using the technique, then it's fine. But I don't think it's something you should do regularly. I definitely wouldn't do the $1 million point every day. Maybe once a week or something like that. Again, it should not be a primary technique. This is more of a crutch or a learning tool, and should only be used as a last resort, in my opinion. It's better to learn the more internal methods where you don't have to do that. Yes, I do have an amazing partner. Her name's Mariah. Can you increase penis size with human growth hormone and steroids? I do not recommend doing this. Steroids have the effect of basically your body stops being able to produce its own hormones, and your testicles shrivel up, all kinds of side effects. You don't need these things, Any tips on drawing energy up during masturbation or intercourse? Slow down, breathe deeply. First of all, work with the microcosmic orbit. I have a meditation on my YouTube, and just breathe through that channel, moving the energy up. It's the most basic part of it. Do condoms affect sexual kung fu at all? Good question. They do slightly limit the exchange of energy between you and a partner, but I would say the benefits they provide of preventing pregnancy and STDs is worth it. So my partner and I will use a condom when she's like on her ovulation point. Carnivore diet and semen retention. I haven't done the carnivore diet myself. I would be very careful with that because it's a very stimulating, very yang building diet, and semen retention itself is very yang building. So you could, run into the risk of an imbalance there. Is there any way to increase penis size? Yes, use stretching exercises, basically stretching your penis out, and jelqing exercises will increase your girth and your firmness. But you have to do it very consistently. Okay, colloidal silver. I take colloidal silver actually if I'm concerned about my immune system. I bought a bunch at the beginning of the whole pandemic thing because I didn't really know what was really going on. Then it turned out to be less deadly than the flu. So, but colloidal silver has been shown to basically kill viruses, and I haven't been sick in over 2 years. I think semen retention in my practice is a very important part of that, but I also take a lot of supplements. Like if I ever start getting that feeling like I'm catching a cold or something, there's some things that I do, and I haven't been sick in 2 years. Do you think we should eliminate dairy from diet because it raises estrogen? I eat minimal amounts of dairy. Yeah, so if you are eating dairy, it should be like high quality, free range, grass fed. But I don't have much dairy personally. Okay, how long should you spend working with the microcosmic orbit each day to become efficient with moving and controlling sexual energy? Start with 5 to 10 minutes and gradually increase to 20, 30 minutes a day or more if you want. Okay, how often should you jelq if you're doing it? So jelqing, it's important you do it properly because you can, that's the thing with these penis exercises. If you use too much force, you do it too intensely, you can damage your penis, which is counterproductive. So jelqing, if you're just starting out, I recommend doing it for about 10 minutes, relatively gently, don't do it too hard, and do that 3 to 4 days a week. Always have a rest day afterwards. What do I disagree with Montauk Chia? Well, okay, highest respect for Montauk Chia. He got me into this path. Highest respect for him. He's done amazing work. But some things that I teach differently. He has a very tension-based approach, like, squeeze everything, force the energy, very forceful, excessively yang. It burns people out. I personally got burnt out from a lot of aspects of the system. And then specifically, he says to contract your pelvic floor, keep it contracted during sex. This activates the sympathetic nervous system and makes premature ejaculation worse. It makes your penis more sensitive when you flex your pelvic floor. And I found, I was doing this for years, and then I discovered like, if I just relax the pelvic floor, do reverse Kegels, I can last way longer and have much more pleasurable states. So, so it's something different that I teach in my approach. Does ejaculating too often affect eyesight? Yes, it certainly can. Okay, should you cycle ejaculations or retain indefinitely? A good question, is should you ever ejaculate? I made a video on this, and personally, I think an ejaculation here and there could be a good idea to like clear out your prostate and basically just, it's kind of a fresh energy, kind of like how a woman has she has a cycle of like clearing energy. A man can do the same thing, but it's really up to you. Get to know your own body, experiment. Do you feel better going 3 months, 6 months? Do you feel better only going 1 month at a time? You'll find what works for you best. I think in the beginning, it's very important to go longer periods of time because that's when you're really rebuilding your genes. Sometimes this stage takes years. And then once you like really get the practice down, like for me, I'm generating so much gene through my Qigong practice that if I do ejaculate on occasion, like it doesn't feel like anything's happened. And doing the sexual kung fu practices, you actually draw the energy out of the sperm. You harvest that energy and store it in your body. So you actually don't lose much if you do ejaculate. How do you stay aroused during self-cultivation? You can use a bit of fantasy. It's kind of like use a bit of fantasy until you start getting aroused. Then focus on your body. Focus on the pleasure that you're feeling and moving that throughout your body. And then if your arousal is dropping, you can use a bit of fantasy. When having sex and having full body orgasms for hours at a time, when do you determine that it's a reasonable time to stop? When you feel complete, when you and your partner are like, okay, that's good for now, you'll naturally come to some sort of completion. Any comments on the Wim Hof method? I think it's great. It's great for like health and overall. As far as like energy cultivation, it's very limited, but like overall health and hormonal balance, things that's great. So what if I want to cultivate my energy but experience an orgasm? Learn to have non-ejaculatory orgasms. This solves everything. You can have full body orgasms without ejaculating. Look more into I have a lot of videos on this. A lot of videos on YouTube about this. Atlantean Gardens retention videos. I have not seen them. All right, just a few more questions, then I'm going to jump off. Would you say sex outdoors would be better for the body in terms of the earth energy? I mean, if it's like, a nice, not too hot, not like freezing cold, not like a heavy wind or anything like that, then yeah, it's great to have sex out in nature. It's very natural. And, you have that nature chi. Does biking on a bicycle have any negative effects or pressure on the male sexual organs? So I've seen that some like bikers who are like, like the really intense bikers who spend like hours at a time biking, they can sometimes run into prostate issues. But me, I ride a bicycle around. I've never had any problems with it. So, but daily testicle massage, is very important, I think. Who's my celebrity crush? I don't have one. I don't really follow celebrities or anything like that. Any techniques you use that help achieve your partner's orgasm? Being able to please your partner, getting to know their body and what pleases them, right? Like being able to, if you're having sex, moving in a certain way to stimulate if you're having sex with a woman, her clitoris and her G spot, and getting to know like her A spot and things like that, massaging in there. Do I study anything else besides these subjects? Yeah, I study a lot of things. I'm interested in, of course, sexual kung fu. I'm very interested I'm studying Taoist internal martial arts. I'm studying Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, Neigong, Neidon, internal alchemy practice. So this is energy arts. I'm obviously a huge geek of. I'm also a musician. I love music. I'm always studying about, nutrition, kind of esoteric history and things we'll say like that, like what's really going on in the world, what's the true history of our planet, and how did we come here, right? So, metaphysical things we'll say I'm very interested in as well. How testicular breathing works, and does it help with becoming multi-orgasmic? So basically, testicle breathing, I've done some guided practices on this on like my YouTube and things. You can buy a guided audio from my website for $2 of a guided practice. Basically, you breathe into your testicles, you activate the unaroused sexual energy, then you breathe it throughout your body, breathe it through the orbit. It's important you work with your orbit first to open it up. So basically, you start to move your sexual energy around the body. This is an imperative, super important practice if you're practicing semen retention to avoid stagnance. So and yes, this is a foundation for becoming multi-orgasmic, because first you work with the non-aroused energy through testicle breathing, drawing it throughout the body, and now you have a pathway for your sexual energy to be expressed in a new way. It starts to train this flow of energy upward in the spine. And so then you can start to work with aroused sexual energy, do the same thing, bring it upward in the body, and this can lead to full body orgasms. No, I never went to college. I was, I don't know, high school, our education system is so just based on like memorizing facts. Like you don't learn how to like become a critical thinker. You don't learn creativity. All you learn is how to memorize, facts. And this basically programs you to be a slave, so that when you see something in the news, you're like, oh, it was written in words and I'm hearing this, therefore it's a fact, and now I memorize this. When someone else would ask me what's happening in the world, I don't give my own true thoughts. I just regurgitate what I saw in the news. So this is kind of the schooling system. It's setting us up to be slaves. And I intuitively knew this in my, in my teenage years. And, I'm really good at learning, but only by my own terms. Like I study pretty intensely when I'm interested in something, but, in school, I had no interest in the things. I got good grades, but it was just like, I did not enjoy school personally. Yeah, they don't teach consciousness. How many hours of sleep do I recommend? However many hours of sleep it takes you to feel rested, basically. I usually sleep usually about 6.5, 7 hours a night. There's times where I'm sleeping 6 hours a night. There's times in the winter I often sleep more like 8 hours in the night, but yeah. Have I ever seen a chi master move objects with their energy or witnessed it drastically increase their strength? Well, I've seen people make chiropractic adjustments without touching the person. I've actually learned to do this myself. It's pretty trippy. As far as increasing their strength, well, it's different than muscular strength. I'm studying Tai Chi with some guys, and it's like one of those guys, he's pretty old, right? He's like this kind of old, wrinkly, really skinny guy, but he can like launch me across the room. It's pretty nuts, this Tai Chi energy. How is my hair? No, I don't blow dry my hair. I just put a little, my custom made styling clay that I make. I just put that in it. Okay, squeezing prostate muscle not to ejaculate so often. Does it have any negative effect? Only if you're not stretching it back out. So squeezing it, like a Kegel, you need to do the reverse Kegel where you're kind of pushing it back out to stretch it open, or else it'll get too contracted and this can increase premature ejaculation. The formula for my hair wax is just, what is it? Beeswax, coconut oil, bentonite clay, and some essential oils. That's all it is. Yeah. Little semen too. That's my secret. Nah. What do I think about the racist cops that kill black men? I think that they're pieces of shit, and it's pretty fucked up. Murder is, horrific. And yeah, I was talking about this earlier in the video, where all these old patterns of prejudice, racism, all this bullshit, it's all kind of coming out in the collective now to be cleared. And, the work that I'm doing is really helping people clear these things within themselves. So do I eat fast food at all with my sexual comfort? No, I don't eat fast food. Yes, this video is remaining recorded. This video is going to be on my YouTube feed. Yeah. Would porn break the cultivation? Porn, it causes all kinds of energetic imbalances in your body, basically. So I do not recommend it. Last time I had pizza, actually a few days ago, but it was like a healthy, gluten-free. It was a dairy-free. So sometimes I'll have like goat cheese or something on a pizza, but like a pizza of just like straight mozzarella cheese, like, I don't do much dairy. So yes, I do offer payment plans for my course. Next course is launching next month, so it's going to be a good round. Do we need an energy master to achieve something solid? For instance, opening the chakras? It depends how open you are to learning on your own. Some people just can like read a book and just like get the download and like make it happen. Some people do need to study in person with a teacher. Okay, it's probably gonna be my last question I'm gonna answer, but okay, what are my thoughts on the 5 fifth dimensional shift, and what do I think it looks like? Okay, so again, I've dove in way down the esoteric rabbit hole, way down the metaphysical stuff. And I try to be really grounded about the stuff, because it's like, yes, I believe we're going through a massive shift in consciousness, a massive shift. Are we ascending into the fifth dimension? Maybe that's what it is. It's very apparent things are shifting, right? But some people get overly kind of mystical about the stuff, to the point of like, well, I just, forget about my daily life because I'm going to be in the fifth dimension, just, flying around the ethereal planes. Maybe you will be, but maybe you won't be, right? I don't know. I resonate a lot with Taoist practice, which is really just about cultivating yourself, cultivating your energy, the alchemy, the inner alchemy of cultivating your essence and developing the immortal energy body and things like that. So often there's this sense of like kind of projecting into the future, like, oh, well, when I shift to the fifth dimension, when this thing in the future is going to happen, but it always stays in the future. So it's like, what's here, what's now? You know what I mean? It's difficult to say what's really going to happen, but it's very apparent that we're going through a massive shift in consciousness. So, I'm open to a lot of things. Do I read any Western philosophy at all? A little bit. In the past, I was more interested in this stuff, but for me now, I don't like. Obviously, I have like certain philosophies and things like that, but for me, a lot of this stuff can just be words and concepts. That's why I like having a practice. Is like that's been my teachers, having a practice, understanding how to work with energy, and obviously, being a decent human being as well. But I don't know. I'm more into like the practice and the doing versus the like thinking about it and like putting words to it. But obviously, I am have a lot of philosophical concepts as well. So. What books do I recommend? Depends on what, but Montauk Chia has some great books. He's got great books on sexual energy. Stephen Chang has a book called The Tao of Sexology. It's pretty good. Any books about sexual mastery? Honestly, okay, there's a few good ones. Okay, I mentioned Montauk Chia's books. His book, Tao Secrets of Love, Cultivating Male Sexual Energy, is really great. There's also one for females. It's Healing Love, Cultivating Female Sexual Energy. Tao of Sexology by Stephen Chang, what I just read, or what I just talked about. Yes, I read Montauk Chia's book. I was just talking about it. Oh, okay, you said. How do I attract a beautiful woman with an open heart chakra? Become a beautiful man with an open heart chakra. You really have to become that which you wish to attract in your life. You're always going to attract people in the same vibrational state as you. So work on yourself, be positive, make your inner changes, and your inner transformation, become an amazing human being, cultivate your energy, become confident and radiant, and you'll start to attract that in someone else. Okay, guys, I got to jump off. Thank you everyone for joining. Let's see, any announcements? No announcements so much right now, but some exciting things coming soon that I'll be announcing. So, all right, take it easy, guys.